Hey guys, Eric and Chris here. Talk about Showtime's new series, Penny Dreadful, about to debut. We've both seen the first 2 episodes, and I think we're on the same page as we both love it.
Yeah, I love it. I can't, it's one of those things, we sometimes get screeners early, and then you lament the fact that you had to watch it, and then you have to wait an extra week.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things. I can't wait to see 3.
Yeah, I watched it with my wife, and when it ended, she's like, next. And I was like, I don't have the third
nothing
one.
else.
Right. So let's talk about this show. Obviously, we know it's a period piece horror, but let's begin with the setting. 1891, I believe, is the year. London. What did you think of putting it in that setting?
Yeah, it's great. It's it feels really gothic. It's got that Ripper Street kind of feel. Everything feels really dangerous, but you still have the Victorian element. It's just, and it makes it really lush and sort of unique on TV.
And I really like that, it's clearly the title Penny Dreadful, which evokes turn of the century little sort of dime store horror books. It's supposed to evoke old school horror, gothic horror, and it does that great thing of, I think, merging the old and new. It's in this classic setting, but it feels like a modern show with modern sensibility.
Yeah, it's a modern take on this sort of gothic horror, and all kinds of modern elements are in there, and things that you've sort of come to expect from cable series, like extreme violence and all the good adult stuff that exists in there.
This show is from John Logan and Sam Mendes, are the executive producers. They're the guys who made Skyfall. Mendes directed it, Logan wrote it, and I think Logan is writing all 10 episodes of Penny Dreadful, so he's very, very involved. What did you think of the writing?
You can really see the pedigree on screen.
Yeah.
Every time when I judge writing, it's like, could I have written that? And then I'm watching it, I'm like, I could have written that.
Right.
Sometimes you're watching things, you're like, I could do that. No, it's really, really well written.
We're going to get more into the characters in a second, but yeah, I agree. It's very well written. The 3 central characters who are sort of all original characters, I think, are a really cool mixture. It's not your typical group dynamic. And then the way that they weave into the classic characters, the horror characters, I think is really cool.
And what's cool about the characters, too, is they're very complex. There's lots of levels, and they're not morally white or black. Everybody's in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So you kind of don't know who's a hero, who's a villain. Everybody's just kind of an interesting character.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit more about these characters, because I think a big selling point for people going in is going to be all these, famous horror characters combined. And
Sure.
the 2 that are sort of the leads of the show we should mention are Dr. Frankenstein is one of the main characters, and we meet Dorian Gray in the second one.
Right.
But we've heard that there's a lot more coming, that Dracula might show up, and that there's other, classic characters. What do you think of how they handled that?
And I was worried about that because
Yeah.
we've seen failures in that realm, right? We've seen the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen on screen. I mean, the comics were awesome, but the screen adaptation didn't really work.
No.
So this thing is like a mashup, but it feels really natural. It doesn't feel forced, and at least now, it doesn't feel like there's too many characters and they're all competing. It feels like all these things are elements of this world, and they all work in an interesting intermixing way. And I think there's some nice secrets to be had here, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of mysterious backstories. Certainly, we've got Timothy Dalton and Eva Green play these characters that both allude to things in their past, that why they are investigating the supernatural world. And then I think they do a really good job with Josh Hartnett's character, who is used as the outsider. He's used as our in, right? Let's bring him in, but not at the this guy's going to come and kick ass and take over.
Right.
I think they use him well as a guy going, what the hell is going on here?
He is the mouth agape in the group.
Right.
He's the guy what is this? Everybody else has some experience dealing with the things that are going on, but he's coming in and he's seen the world. He's a violent guy. He's got secrets of his own. But he's dealing with some of the supernatural stuff, what's going on here?
Right. This is all new to him. And then performance-wise, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about Eva Green, who I thought was
great.
Excellent in the show. What did you think?
Yeah, her last outing, I feel like on TV, Camelot, she was a little flat, a little vacant in that role. And this one, she fully nails it. She's really on board. She seems really passionate about this thing. And I personally really, really love Josh Hartnett in this.
Yeah.
He seems a little bit more mature coming back, as he has. He's taken some time off from acting. But I believe him more as this character than I think I've ever believed him as any character before.
I think they make a really good trio too, the 2 of them and Dalton, because that is kind of her. Yeah, Dalton, obviously, a guy who didn't get his due as Bond. I think this is a really cool role for him.
He's so good, and I've always loved him. Back to even Flash Gordon days.
Right.
But I've always loved him, and it's really good to see him get something really meaty to sink his teeth into, and he's perfect in it too.
But yeah, I think it is going to be, a lot of it is Eva Green stealing the show as Vanessa. It's an interesting character. She's kind of a proto-goth. There's something that happens very early in the pilot, which you can watch the pilot online right now. but where some crazy stuff is happening, crazy supernatural violent stuff, and the way she just calmly walks through it, that she is a woman on a mission.
Yep.
I thought was really cool.
Yeah, she's great in it, like I said, and I mean, just everybody. I think everybody associated with it across the board, doing a great job.
And a really interesting take on Dr. Frankenstein. We won't go too far into what they do with him, but the Dr. Frankenstein and his creations, I haven't seen handled like this.
Everything really thoughtfully done. These characters all come from a place of education for the most part, and they speak like it, but there's reasons behind all of their actions. I love it.
Yeah. So we're both obviously very excited about this show. We hope you are too. Check out Penny Dreadful. Like we said, the premiere is already online. It'll be airing on Sunday nights on Showtime. We'll have plenty more coverage of it as it continues here on IGN.